Good morning, everyone. It is Friday. We are 3 hours away from byoq. Bring your own questions. That's right. If you haven't joined us, you got to email me, david@dmeltzer.com, or join our text community to get reminded. It will come today, 949-298-2905. If you want the free guides, you miss it, the replay, all you got to do is reach out, david@dmeltzer.com or 949-298-2905. It is right below, right there, pinned. Grab it, use it. Come on, everybody. Let's bring the questions today. We already got some in there. byoq, a little bit of a warm-up. What's the difference between your inner critic and intuition? Intuition is the allowance of what already exists, the truth, and the inner critic is the interference and corrosion from that truth. It is fear. And you need to practice saying bye-bye to the inner critic. Cancel, clear, connect away from that inner critic that you have. We need inner support. We need inner sponsors, inner power sponsors, inner decision makers. That's what we have within us that clear that interference and corrosion between us and that unbelievable source of power, light, and love. The great lessons that we can learn. Keep them coming here. Jake Shear in the house. Welcome, my friend. Keep the questions coming. byoq, 11 a.m. today, david@dmeltzer.com. You got to join me. It's free. The books are free. The exercises are free. And the training's free. Every Friday, the replays are free. The podcast is free. Free, 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 free. What makes ideas good or great ideas? How aligned they are to your values. If they're moderately aligned, they're good. If they're exactly aligned, they're great. So you need to take inventory of your values. Personal, experiential, giving and receiving values. You need to take inventory of those to find out the good to great and find out how aligned those are. So let's keep these questions coming. Oh, wait a second. I see a friend here, Anthony Trucks, @Anthony Trucks, the CEO of Identity Shift. He's a real serial entrepreneur. Oh, there he is.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing, man? It's funny. I think like 4 people that I know have all recommended that I contact you within the last 3 months.
Oh no,
No,
that's a good sign.
It's a very good thing. So I was saying, like, do you know David? I'm like, I don't know David yet. And I think
Well,
a couple
I'm
days ago,
David. Nice to meet you, brother.
You as well, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing blessed and great. I'm fired up. And where are you driving right now?
My wife's driving. We just dropped the kids off. I'm taking off to Portugal for a TV show I'm filming, and they had me change my schedule last minute, so I had to cancel all my meetings. So we're like en route to the airport, we'll call it. But I'm hanging out, man. We got time to chill.
That is awesome. Have you been to Portugal before?
I have never. I've been to Russia and South Korea and the Philippines, a whole bunch of places, but never been to Portugal.
You got to check out Porto, Porto. My
All
favorite
right.
place in Portugal, little sea town, best food, seafood, and very nice people as well.
Okay.
Anyway, you're a serial entrepreneur like me.
Yeah.
And so, really want to know kind of the inside motivation that you deal with every day, especially now with these quick changes that happen. And we have to be adaptable. And when I look through kind of your background, you are a very adaptable person that is expanding. What are some of the key skills that you've developed in order to be so adaptable, both mindset, heart set, and activities?
Yeah. No, so it's interesting. It's all stuff that goes crazy. Like, that's my strength. So actually, my wife and I, we talk about all the time. The reason our marriage works is because I'm adaptable to her. Like, she's human. But hey, I think for me, a lot of it goes to my childhood.
I'm glad she's human, though. You're not blowing her up to drive, right? That's good.
No, she's good. No, but I think a couple keys. So my work's in identity, right? That's a really interesting kind of area that I don't know, a lot of people should be into. There's actually a lot of studies that show that identity is one of the main foundations necessary for a great mindset. There's studies done, I think, in 2018 that showed without, actually on entrepreneurs, without having a self-categorization as an entrepreneur, the mindset tactics tools, they all just fell. They didn't work because people didn't identify as that person. So some of my big keys is, one, self-identify, self-categorize as that's who I am. Not I'm over here doing this thing and I'm trying to be like this person, because that's where the imposter syndrome kind of creeps in. And a lot of people just get stuck. They don't do anything. They have a lot of information, not a lot of execution. So it's one big piece of it. And then two, I'm really big on people like to go big. And in the beginning of the new year, every year, people are like, hey, how you gonna go big this year? And I'm like, no, man, I'm gonna go small in a really big way. So I go really, really small, because the biggest piece of how these things come to be is a statement that's the root of my work, and it's what you create creates you. the process of creation over time, little by little, you become this person who does these things. But everybody's trying to go big and have the one big thing, and I'm gonna change all of a sudden. It doesn't work that way. It's the small things daily that you just go big on those, and then over time you look back and you don't know when, but someday you're like, man, I'm dope. This is who I am now. And that's kind of the biggest piece of it for me. And so when these crazy times, man, I just pivoted, started leaning into new things, and it always been able to come to a good circle for me.
I know why people wanted us to meet, because we share so many philosophies, and you know, it's not what I say, it's what people hear. So it's so nice to hear someone from their perspective, experience, be able to articulate what I truly believe has built the success and happiness in my life that I want for everybody else as well. It's interesting because my first step to happiness is to take inventory of our values every day and not be afraid to be a hypocrite. And I tell them to do that, we need to lower the bar, not raise the bar. Right? Just different ways of saying. I'm going to ask you my second part, because you are so well versed in this and you really get it. What most people don't get is the next step is, if you have the ability to shift and grow that incremental compound interest that you get by understanding who we are and acting upon who we are, that's where humility comes in, because we have the clarity, balance, focus, and confidence to do one thing that changes our lives. That's ask for help. Can you explain how knowing who you are allows you to take advantage of the entire unified universe that can then exponentially accelerate us? Because without your identity, that's why people, you talk about imposter syndrome, that's why people get in their own way and think they need to do it all by themselves, because they're afraid they're going to be exposed. Give me your insight.
So it's interesting. So I played professional football with the Bucks, Redskins, and Steelers. So NFL is my thing. One of the highest level athletes in the world, and I had a coach. It's interesting that a lot of people nowadays find it's like, oh, I don't want to get a coach because that means there's something wrong and I'm asking for help. And it's like, no, when I played the game, my coach couldn't do what I could do. He couldn't play the game the way I could play, but he was on the sideline where I could see the person in front of me. He saw the field. And I think the part of my identity when I first came out of football, I had that, like, I don't need help. I got this. And I realized, man, when I'm sound in self, I don't have to worry about somebody else knowing something that may make me look bad, or means I'm less. I'm like, no, I got this collection of skill sets nobody can touch because of my unique life experiences. And this person over here sees things I don't, and they can unpack some things differently, give me insights differently, which help me become better. And then the cool thing is, like, for me, I'm a team guy, man. I like to celebrate with other people. It's cool to do it alone, but like, man, I like to celebrate with other people when I do great. But my greatest strengths now are the people around me, because they can see things that are on the field of play that I don't see. And then when it comes to me pursuing that next level, I can be very humble without losing a sense of confidence of self. Just because somebody sees something doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's like, that's just the way the world is. Like, my brain doesn't work the way everybody else's brain works, which is a great thing and a bad thing at the same time. My wife will tell you. Like, there's aspects I just can't, but that's the great thing, is when I can take my brain as it is and then add yours. Oh, now you got some magic sauce, man. You make some cool things in life.
Yeah, it's amazing because, you know, I've been coaching since I was at Lee Steinberg as the CEO, and with Warren Moon, even at Sports One, before I became
Warren,
world-renowned regular coach. Last 3.5 years coaching billionaires, CEOs, athletes, celebrities, and entertainers. It's so funny, the resistance, even for the ones that are kind of playing in their mind, that first step of, I've never had a coach before. And I use the same example that you do.
You
I was like, are you kidding? I said, I've been around, you know, Steve Young, Warren Moon, Troy Aikman. Since they've been 5 years old, they've had coaches. Why do they think when they step off a field, all of a sudden they can do it themselves?
It's weird. It is very weird. You know, I think it's part of that, you know, if you weren't in the football, because I think there's this ego that comes to the football world of, I played football, I'm better than everybody else. Like, when I came out of football, the dumbest thing that I did was get into business and think I could do it on my own. I was like 8 years removed from regular society. I was behind the ball. So when I started realizing, like, oh, wait, I need to ask someone who's been in this game way longer than me how to be able to catch up, that's when I excelled.
And lastly, you excel in relationships when you know who you are. And I see your wonderful wife next to you. I joke around, but my wife, to me, as soon as I started shifting my identity, that's when I truly came into my own with all my relationships, my wife, my children, my mom, everyone around me. I became very clear because of who I was And I, just talk about my wife. I call her Jewel Awesome. She's Julie and she's awesome. And sometimes though, because I know my identity, I call her Jalasco. She's Julie and Tabasco. Nobody will get inside of me like a wound, man.
Oh, that's great. That's
But
great.
I adore her. How does that work? Why is it that when I've learned my identity and take inventory of my values and I ask for help and do all these things under the realm of vulnerability and humility, why does it work so well that the better I feel about myself, the better my relationships are?
Yeah, my wife and I, we were high school sweethearts. We were divorced for like 3 years. The whole custody battle craziness, and they got remarried. We're back together a little over 4 years. I want to say around 4 years now. Phenomenal marriage. I love her to death. I'm a guy like you, man. I talk her up probably more than she knows I talk her up, because I'm not with the whole like old ball and chain. Like, my wife's dope, man. She does dope stuff. But here's the thing. I think what ends up happening is when you're not clear on your identity, you can't actually give yourself the grace and patience, humility, positive love. And so what happens is over time, like, you can't give what you don't have inside. If I don't have it, I can't give it. And what's unique, I found, is those who find it for themselves. Well, now I can give it to my spouse. I can give it to my kids. I can give it to my colleagues. So when you don't know who you are and you're struggling and everything's frustrating, like you got that craziness inside. And that's what I give out. It's craziness. So all the relationships, it's a mere back and forth. When I'm settled inside and I got a good base of who I am, oh man, now I can communicate and then go back and forth. Nobody's perfect. Like, we have our days, but after a while, like, you even learn how to fight, we'll call it. You learn how to go back and forth in a respectful way and also secede. Like, all right, hey, I'm wrong. It's a back and forth, but it only comes once you have it for yourself.
Yeah, and even further with those relationships is the relationship to community. And we face two really big issues that I know you and I both are facing, head first is, COVID itself, which everybody on the world is questioning their own existence.
Yeah.
But also the racial issues. I've been blessed to represent the Clemente family. I've represented Warren Moon. The first African-American quarterback in the Hall of Fame, both Hall of Fames, by the way, and, have understood death threats in, the best I could from a third party vantage point. And, my biggest lesson, Anthony, that I learned through Black Lives Matter was I was having trouble gripping, the concept, well, doesn't all lives matter? I get, right? And then I realized Black Lives Matter, and we need to prioritize Black lives under the context that, of course, all lives matter, but let's not get so caught up in semantics that we forget the issues. We need to prioritize this because it's been centuries that this problem's gone on, and it's time to stop it. And in order to stop it, you got to prioritize it. But then the context, if all lives matter, let's pick the one we want to prioritize to fix the most.
Yeah, to catch up
that's going to be, for me, these racial issues that exist in the U.S. for 2 centuries.
Long time,
And how does that identity, when there's so much separation, so much anxiety, fear around those two issues, how does your identity or what you teach help to resolve and unify?
Yeah, a couple things. Well, it's interesting, my upbringing. Like, I was put into foster care at 3 years old, and I was raised from 6 until now with the only Black person in an all-white family. So I have a really interesting, like, internal dynamic with this entire thing. And so what I found is there's a couple aspects of why we struggle. And I think that the cool thing, if you look at the overall, we're all looking for, even those who say all lives matter, I don't think they're racist and saying Black lives don't. But there's a perspective of, like, we want to live in a world where, like, well, yeah, of course Black lives matter. It's like, why would you even say opposite? It's a world we're all pushing for. But I do find the identity issue becomes an interesting problem for a lot of people, because here's what I see with white America. My perspective from my conversations is there's this weird new guilt that nobody chose to have and nobody knows what to do with, because it was almost placed upon them out of the blue. It's like, how do I deal with this? And so what we have to do in those moments is one of two things. One, I have to accept that something's off and I have to eat that, which is painful. And I got to find a way to navigate it, or I have to demonize that it even exists so I can keep my foothold. And I think a lot of people are protecting that identity because they don't want to have that guilt come in. So what it looks like, it comes across to Black America as you're racist. But it's really not. It's just them protecting the position because they don't want to feel bad for a lot of areas. And I get that. So it's not that people are actively doing something. And on the Black America side, like, it has been a lot of issues. I've had a lot of my own Black moments. I've been called Afro penis with a nice word at the airport randomly. I've been run off the road and been called the nigger on the sidewalk. And you get these things that happen. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm neutral, because I'm not. But I do realize that if I'm going to get to the next place, there's got to be some nuances of how this world progresses forward. What I've akened it to weird and metaphorically way is, like, my wife and I were separate at one time. She had a boyfriend she lived with. I had a girlfriend to live with, and like they both left the house. It was just the two of us. I'm not going to move into her house because she had a guy that lived there, and she's not going to move into my house because there's a woman that lived there. So we had to go make our own house, like a new one, together. And this is where I think we kind of have to look at society as Black America's going to have to not try to make white America come to this house, and white America's not going to have to make Black America come here. We got to leave our respective houses and create a new one together in society. And both people have to do different work. I had to do different work in our relationship. She had to do different work. But in that different work, I respect her work. She respects mine, so it creates this unity that we both respect. And now we have this equal footing. And now, oh yeah, of course all lives matter. What are you talking about? That's the position I think we're heading towards, or hoping to head towards.
Yeah, I've dealt with for 2 decades the black quarterback issue. And I remember early on, Warren said, I want to get to a point. His mission is that they just say quarterback, tall quarterback, weak arm quarterback, bad quarterback, good quarterback. But why even say black quarterback? And we're almost getting there. It's really nice. If you watch the rhetoric that occurs in talking about quarterbacks now, it becomes less and less apparent. They're just quarterbacks. And
just quarterbacks, man.
If Johnny Manziel's an idiot, he's not even a white idiot. He's just an idiot.
He's just an idiot.
And I'm okay. I'm okay with that. So lastly, obviously you have this unbelievable background, unbelievable knowledge, very positive perspective on things. Where can people find you and get help from you? Because you are someone that I'd love to move, especially my athletes over, that has the shared perspective of the future and how we can all come together and make this place a better place to live. Yeah,
man, right here. Instagram's a great place to find me. Anthony Trucks, or AnthonyTrucks.com. One big thing I learned years ago was one of my, we'll call it my mentors, which he still is, as a friend now, is Brendan Burchard. And I learned really early on, you can't just talk all day. Like I hop on stages, I speak in front of thousands of people. But then when I get off, 1, I'm unemployed. 2, I leave an impact that's just there. So I was really big on like, how do I create structure and curriculum from this? So spent a ton of time, a ton of money creating very in-depth processes and programs to guide people through this identity shift stuff. So if anybody's like, hey man, I am looking to start attaining like my most ambitious desire, like as quickly as this month, like I'm the guy you come see for that. And that's the way I do it. Do identity. It's a really cool, fun process. That's really hard at the same time, but it's a blast.
And I think one of the other things that you do really well that I learned from my mentor is you teach people to learn to love you, right? Part of that identity is loving ourselves. And you do a great job in programmatically to shift those beliefs, energies, consciousness about loving yourself. Can't love other people, can't give what we don't have. What a pleasure, man. I look forward to doing a lot more with you. People were right. I had to meet you. You're incredible. Have a safe trip. Go to Porto and make sure you DM me and let me know how awesome it is. I won't let you down. I've traveled the whole world. It's one of my favorite places.
I'm down. I'm going to check it out. Thank you.
Right on. Take care. Tell your wife thank you as well.
Will do.
Have a great day. Safe flight. All right. I love when kindred spirits come together, kind of like on office hours in the morning, in the afternoons. At Anthony Trucks, plural. Ex-superstar, an Oregon guy. I remember him playing, and of course now he's making a major impact, a social impact, by learning and teaching others to know who they are and what they want. All right, perfect. Remember, in about 2 hours and 40 minutes, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, my 20-year tradition of free trainings coming to life with thousands of people. Please join us. All you got to do is email me, david@dmeltzer.com, or 949-298-2905. You can text me. If you miss it, just come to the replay. Thousands of people watch it there as well. The playbook, we had Cameron Diaz on, but these trainings do very well. I pinned it below, the email and the number, and want to thank Anthony, kindred spirit of mine, with an unbelievable vision of how we can live empowered and happy lives. Let's take some questions as we go. We'll grab as a warming up for today. If your life was a movie, what would it be called? Jakey Bakey, that's a good question. My life was a movie. Happiness is the pursuit. So, sorry, Chris Gardner, I'm changing your movie. My movie is Happiness is the Pursuit, not the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is the pursuit, the David Meltzer story. There's my movie. Better than Ruzy Hood. I'm going to get Anthony Pizzo to write it. David Anspaugh, you can direct it, and whoever else is involved. But absolutely what I would name it. Here we go. What is your biggest motivation? So number one, remember, motivation to me is the ability to get up, get back up, get started, get restarted. It's not inspiration. So motivation for me is The consistency. For me, that motivates me. If I can stay focused on staying consistent, and I'm not going to be consistent, I'm motivated to be consistent, which leads to transitioning that motivational energy into inspiration. Go back, replay that, because that's a formula for energy, to sustained energy, of clearing the connection between that and the most powerful source of energy that exists. What's the most important lesson you learned this week? I learned so many. I think the most important lesson I learned this week is about expansion and being able to clearly indicate to people that, yes, through the enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, you'll have incremental growth and acceleration that your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and ears cannot see and your memory can't hear. So it's incremental. So you have to have faith in order for it to happen. But if you do all those things, you will expand, and it will expand exponentially and accelerate exponentially. So eventually you won't be able to handle how much it expands. But the piece that most people, and the lesson that I've learned, is everybody's focused on how do I expand, and they forget about what happens when you expand. So when you expand, a vacuum is created, right? Which causes more acceleration and more growth, that hockey stick in life, that compound interest, positive or negative. And most people that are focused strictly on just enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of their potential and expanding, forget about the most important part, is when the vacuum is created, what are they going to fill the vacuum with? What are they going to become? And so they think about things that other people want for them. They think about things that they don't want. And that's what gets sucked into the vacuum. And then they wonder, through all that effort of consistently, persistently pursuing their potential, why they end up in the same or worse place than they should have. You got to go the last step. You got to think about what you want to fill that vacuum with, because it will suck it in, and it will keep growing, and it will accelerate, and it will grow. You got to think about what you're fulfilling your life with. And in order to do so, you got to have inventory of your values, like Anthony and I talked about. You have to know your identity, your personal values, your experiential values, your giving values, your receiving values. You got to learn to ask and attract, which comes from that identity, utilizing your time effectively with the lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. What you have planned, what you don't have planned in your sleep. You got to do things now. 100% of the things you do now get done. It's the difference between successful and unsuccessful people. People who are successful get stuff done. And then finally, utilizing the practice of ending fear, clearing the connection to infinity, to everything that already exists. You'll know exactly, with clarity, balance, and focus, what to fill that vacuum with. That's the lesson I learned this week. Next question. How do you stay in high optimal mental state during COVID, especially it has changed your work life? Well, first of all, with great change comes great opportunity. With great pain comes great lessons. Pain is an indicator, as I mentioned before. It's indicating that you have a better place to go, and it's giving you an indicator that you better find the directions, which are the lessons, so you better find someone that have learned the lessons or find where those lessons are. It's just an indicator. And so whether it's COVID or whether it's whatever you want to say, your excuse is, because I'll tell you one thing about the future. I'll tell you one thing about 10 minutes from now, 10 days from now, 10 months from now, 10 years from now. It's going to change. It's going to be change, compressed change. It's going to be uncertain. Therefore, your happiness is determined by your faith that tomorrow, the next 10 minutes, the next 10 hours, the next 10 days, weeks, months, and years are going to be better than it is right now. And you're going to do whatever it takes to make it better. And therefore, COVID doesn't matter. Who's in office doesn't matter. Whatever else you may think and you are a victim of why me? No, it's try me. Show me the pain. I'll show you the lesson. We'll get farther, expand, and know what we want to fill that vacuum. It's not COVID. It's not COVID. A third of the people are going to do better during COVID. A third of the people are going to be stabilized. And a third of the people are not going to do well. And you can maximize each of those realms, business-wise, personally-wise, etc. At what point did you know you were 25% of the way there? And where would you say you are now? Well, first of all, I don't ever know I'm 25% of the way there, because my philosophy is I am happy where I'm at, but I need to get to somewhere better. I'm going to angle to somewhere better that I think I want to be, and I know I'm going to end up somewhere better than that. And so it doesn't matter whether I'm 5%, 10%, 25%, or 90%. I need to only focus on enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of that 100%, that truth, that potential that I have. What's up, CJ White? I see you there. Good to see you. They became great leaders because they were intelligent followers. Yes, Napoleon Hill. How can one be an intelligent follower? Be more interested than interesting. Find people that sit in a situation that you want to be in. That's the intelligent follower, the one who's more interested than interesting and is looking for the people that have the what, so that they also can have the what. They can ask them for the what, ask them and teach them how to get the what. That's how you do it. All right. Can you explain what you mean by being in the flow? So being in the flow has to pertain to the three different connectivities. One, the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, infinity, all-knowing, being, source, God, Jesus, Muhammad, Joseph Smith, doesn't Buddha, I don't care. You, right? There's now a connection, a flow between everything, abundance, more than enough, and you, and everything you're connected to. The less interference, corrosion, void, shortages, and obstacles that exist between you and everything, abundance, your ability to appreciate it, add value to it, and be thankful, and the interference, connection, void, shortages, and obstacles between your appreciated self of everything and everything else, that's the flow. So the greater that flow occurs, the more you'll expand. The more you expand, the stronger the vacuum. The more you know what you want, the more you can fill that vacuum and be what you want. Remember, these questions, by the way, if I don't get to them, bring them at 11 a.m., which is approximately 2.5 hours from now, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Bring your own questions. I'll keep bringing the answers just like this, okay? You got to email me, david@dmeltzer.com. You get the guides, the exercises, my free books. You can get the playbook, the replays of this every week. If you like this one, you can like the other ones. 20 years I've been doing these trainings. Happy to help empower others, to empower others to be happy. Be one of my 1,000 and empower another 1,000 to empower another 1,000. We can change the world with over 1 billion people being happy, create a collective consciousness of happiness, not avoid shortages and obstacles and scarcity, but of abundance, to be in the flow. Is there a reason people are depressed? Like, is it unconscious or just memorized feeling? All of them, Jesse. So people are depressed because consciously they're doing, saying, thinking, hearing all the wrong things, depressing things. They're depressed because subconsciously they have a lot of depressing thoughts in the 40,000 of the same thoughts that have formed neural pathways in their mind that have programmed them, wired them to be depressed. And even more difficult, there's an unconscious competency, a DNA, a quantum memory of depression that could be held down from great-grandparents, grandparents, parents to you, or even past lives if you believe in that stuff. It doesn't matter. It's inherent in your frequency. And so you need to work on improving your happiness within all three realms. And those three are all connected. If you can change your conscious, it will change your subconscious. If you change your subconscious, it will change your frequency, your unconscious, your quantum memory. And it happens to be every day. Don't zero it out by not doing it every day. 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. That's how our system works, because our cellular memory, it needs daily input because it forgets what you told it when you close your eyes to go to sleep. So unless you do it for a minimum of 21 straight days, you're not going to get to the subconscious, and the subconscious will not be able to speak to your frequency, your quantum memory, your unconscious. All right, Chad is here, best-selling author, global faith leader. This is going to be good. My man. Here we go. If anybody's ever seen the Zoe Church and seen Chad, you know what I'm talking about. There he is.
How you doing, sir?
You just lit up my screen. I can see you are a man of faith.
How you doing today?
I'm phenomenal now that you're here. Anthony Trucks is a man of faith. You can tell that. These people are faithful. I got to ask you the first question. People separate us by faith, and it aggravates me immensely. My brother is a famous rabbi, and he's a faithful person. But the problem I have with dogmatic religion in itself is that it separates us, or people are allowed to separate. And I don't understand how there is any congruency between faith and separation. What does faith mean to you as such a faithful person and someone who inspires so many people and gives them faith?
Well, I think we have to define what faith is. Faith, by definition, is trust, belief, and confidence. And so, being a person of faith is putting your trust in someone else, putting your belief in a higher power. For me, in my faith, I put it in Jesus, and other people choose, their own religions. And I think the most important thing is that you do find faith, that you find who you're going to believe in. And I think right now we live in a divided country. Everyone is so opinionated. Everybody wants to say you're wrong, that's wrong. And I think right now, before you say this is my religion, that's my religion, you're wrong, I'm wrong. Why don't we listen to learn? In the book, we talk a lot about just instead of listening so you can speak, listening so you can correct, listen so you can learn.
I love that. And pain to me is an indicator that we have to learn, right? Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, financial pain is just an indicator. Hey, you got something to learn. And you've written that book, Faith Forward Future, and now Unreasonable Hope, right? And both really are faithful books, but they're also pragmatic books. One thing I like about your church and what you teach is we live in this pragmatic world, and you talked about trust blending with a higher source, whatever you define it as, right? And it drives my family crazy, who's traditionally a Jewish family, when I tell them that I believe in Jesus, right? And I don't identify my culture with Judaism because I grew up in that culture, but
Sure.
my beliefs are different. My spirituality, my emotional belief, I have to believe in a higher source,
Right.
a power, and whatever you want to define that as. Your higher self is how I have read in all the Bibles that I have read. Your higher self is Christ-like, or Christ. And so people tell me, I don't believe in Jesus. I said, would you believe in your higher self, your potential? Yeah, of course. I said, so is it okay if I define that as Christ? Is that
Right.
okay with you? Is that okay with you? If it's not okay, then I won't call it Christ around you. I'll call it my potential, or I'll call it Buddha, or I'll call it Joseph Smith, whatever you want me to call it. But I'm still pursuing my highest self so that I can help others and be of service and of value to this extraordinary universe that I was born into.
It's amazing. But you already nailed it on the head. We don't turn to God when we're on the mountaintop of success. It's usually when we're in the valley of despair. It's, you don't come to the beginning of God till you come to the end of yourself. And so a lot of times we don't choose faith. We don't choose this trust, belief, confidence because we put it in ourself. The only problem with self is that we will let ourselves down. We are so inconsistent as humans. There's a gap between who I want to be and who I am. And, one of my favorite scriptures is the things that I hate to do, I do. And the things that I don't want to do is what I do. And so it's just part of the journey, part of the process of development, maturing, becoming, like you're saying, the Christ version of myself. All of us are on a journey. We need to stop judging and being so critical on others. The sign that you are not in love with yourself is when you're mean to others. Because I can't respect or value other people until I respect and value myself. If I forgive myself easily, I'll forgive others easily. But most people are under such shame and guilt, and they hate themselves for what they did last summer, or when they were in their high school years, or whatever it is. And we've got to start being gracious to ourselves, because that will allow us to be gracious to others.
And aligned with that was a challenge that I had. I always had faith. I was afraid of the faith, though. And still today, we talk about, I live an unbelievable life. I live a blessed life. I'm gracious, forgiving, and accountable in my life, and inspired in my life. And I know I'm not where I want to be still, that I have so much more potential. But even this morning, something happened that, was so amazing. And I felt myself being afraid, right? I'm afraid that I have such faith that, that I can ask the universe, right? I always say you can't out-ask the universe. That I got afraid that, oh my God, this stuff really works. Like the trust and belief and goodness and deeds, being a good person, this works. And all of a sudden I felt myself being afraid that I had too much light and too much power, and that this could be real. My faith, is now somehow not real. Have you experienced anyone that had this experience, or, is this a common thing for people to be afraid of faith?
Well, absolutely. And, our biggest fear is not failure. Most of us are so familiar and comfortable and actually expecting the worst. Our biggest fear is that we could potentially be successful. That's why most people sabotage their success, because they become successful and then they don't know how to handle or steward that favor, that blessing, that grace. And if we think that we got there ourselves, we're going to end up sabotaging it. But we've got to understand it was somebody else, the goodness and the grace of God that brought us to places that are undeserved. Grace, by definition, is undeserved blessing and unmerited favor. So that just defies the logic of religion, because religion says if you work hard, religion says you can earn it. If you mess up, something bad's going to happen. If you do good, something good's going to happen. We say Jesus did the good. He paid the price on the cross. I am made righteous not because of my efforts or my do-goodism. I am made righteous by believing in him. And because I believe in Jesus, like you said, I now have grace, undeserved blessing, unmerited favor. So I think we got to start to just realize, as hard, we live in this culture, it's like grind mode, work up and grind, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? As hard as I can work, I'm not that talented. I am not that good to produce all that I have. My family, my life, my opportunities, I'm as broken, as messed up as anybody in the world. It is all grace.
Last thing real quick, followers and leaders. And someone had asked me a question about Napoleon Hill. One of my favorite quotes is, in order to be a great leader, you have to be an intelligent follower. And, I'm trying to build a society, a community of happiness. And part of being happiness is to be an intelligent follower, to be more interested than interesting, to be able to learn and grow and fill the vacuum with what we want, not with what we don't want. You have such great leadership programs. You write about leadership. How do you see that relationship between being an intelligent follower and being a great leader?
Such a great question. I did write 2 previous spiritual books, Unreasonable Hope and Faith for a Future. And now my new book that just came out this week, Help, I Work with People. What a title. Help, I Work with People. And, in it, if we're ever going to lead others, we have to first follow. Again, to me, the greatest leader that ever lived was Jesus. And Jesus, as a massive leader, is always following. He says things like this: I don't do anything unless the Father tells me to do it. I don't say anything unless the Father tells me to say it. So in other words, leaders are followers first. Leaders are learners first. It all starts with us. First section of the book, I start with, it all starts with me. I'd love to blame others for my failures. I'd love to blame others for the reason why I'm stuck. I'd love to blame others that they're the problem. But leadership's about going me. Am I a follower? Am I a learner? Am I a listener? We want companies. We want our organizations to have unity. Well, am I a unifier? We want our organizations to be excellent. Do I carry a spirit of excellence? We've got to start with us, because if we can get good at following, people will recognize, wait a second, you're not just this machismo, head honcho, just, commander in charge. You also follow. I think that is so attractive to our followers when they see that we are just the same as them. We're all following.
I love it. And, regardless of your religious beliefs, your religious identification, your book came out this week on the 18th. It really holds some great values and great advice and great inspiration in it. What would you say to the people that say, you know what, I don't believe in Jesus, so I don't want to read his book? What would you tell those people?
Well, I would say this book, first of all, it's a leadership book. It is not a spiritual book. And it's a leadership book about how to treat humans. Doesn't matter of their background, doesn't matter of, religious or unreligious. I think we have to get back to the first principle, and that is valuing others. And leadership is all about others. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So all of us have a sphere of influence. So if we're going to be good stewards of our influence, we've got to learn how to work with others, how to be, it's that old Dale Carnegie book, How to Make Friends and Influence People. It's that winsome personality. So whether you're in sales or a stay-at-home mom, whether you're a football coach or whether you lead a large organization, we've got to get good at working with other people, because if we do, it's like I heard someone say this recently. If you communicate, you can get by. But if you communicate skillfully, you can work miracles. So this book is about saying, you know what? I want to win with others, get good at my people skills, and watch my organization go to new heights.
That's amazing. The pastor, Chad Beach, he's of Zoe Church. Who'd have thought he's the next Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill? Incredible leadership book. I do not identify with dogmatic religion. I'm an extremely spiritual person, and I am encouraging everyone, let's unify with these concepts. Whatever you believe, let's support each other as long as it follows being kind to our future selves and doing good deeds. Let's lead everybody to their better selves, like Chad is doing in his book. I highly encourage you to go get it. I'm looking forward to reading it myself this weekend. I appreciate you sending over that copy, and I will talk to you soon, Chad. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
We'll see you soon. Great work, man. Keep the mission. Why look to separate ourselves when we can look to unify ourselves with common beliefs and common advice and common true activity? And wanted to have Chad on there. I hope I didn't piss off my family too much. But I believe in what he does with Compassionate Capitalism, a book Blaine Bartlett and I wrote. All right, I'm going to take one last question, and then everyone's going to join me in 2 hours and 15 minutes. BYOQ, bring your own questions. I'll bring the answers. Free training, free exercise, free guides, free books. You can get those now if you want. David@dmeltzer.com. Or join my text community, 949-298-2905. Love to have you in there. Let's take one more question, and then I'll take a lot more questions that we will have at 11 a.m. BYOQ. How can we control our mind and feeling? Well, your mindset and the way you feel are two things that you can control. And we control them by stop, dropping, and rolling. So knowing our values of what we want, if our feelings or our mindset are not aligned with what we want, then we should stop. We should breathe through our nose, out through our mouth, and ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? And use our higher power of thinking in order to roll in the right trajectory, not create shortages, voids, and obstacles, not create resistance, not create corrosion between us and that great source of light, love, and lessons that my friend Chad calls Jesus or Christ or whatever you call whatever you want. That source energy, let's clear that connection. Let's utilize it, allow it to come through us. That's what we do. All right, everyone, 2 hours and 15 minutes from now, BYOQ, bring your own questions. I'll bring the answers. It's free. My books are free. Guides are free. Please reach out. David@dmeltzer.com. It's right there in the comments. Go ahead and grab it. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget, next week is pitch competition. If you haven't joined or want to pitch, go ahead. Email and text me, same numbers. Join the 2-minute drill pitch competition. We actually just got picked up by Bloomberg, so we will be on Bloomberg TV and Reach TV and my normal platforms. So please reach out to us. Remember, everybody, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Have a great day.